back, episode 37, post fades and cheesesteaks. Going to talk, of course, NFL playoff wrap up. So we had divisional round this past weekend. Got some coaching news, NFL news mixed in here and there, and then obviously go into our predictions for the conference championships. But of course, if you're listening to this and you are not already following us on, Instagram, Twitter, the YouTube channel, follow that, Spotify, same thing for Apple Pod. I don't know how Apple Pod works. I don't really use it that much, but if there's a hard option, show some love, goes a long way. But yeah, Tim, I'll let you start off. What game did you want to talk about first from the past weekend?
Well, I'd be remiss to not start with the one where I'm going to eat my words, and it's that number one defense just not showing up in Green Bay.
There's a different number one defense on the field, apparently.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I mean, obviously, Aaron Donald was not anywhere near 100%. I never see this guy miss plays.
30% of the snaps, if that.
Yeah. So that was a lot of mumbo jumbo beforehand. He clearly wasn't going to be 100% going in that game, but the reports before was not that. But still, man, I know Donald's the best defensive player in the league and everything, but come on. I don't think they showed up at all. That offensive line just steamrolled that defensive line. And one of the points that I made when I picked the Rams was the Packers were missing Bakatari, their best offensive line, and you wouldn't have known. They just steamrolled the D-line all day. I don't think Jalen Ramsey played very well. Devontae Adams still had a game. They put up 30 points, but that run game, man. And the Packers definitely got criticized when they took Dillon in the second round. But you know what? Them just churning out a fresh running back every series, it was Jones, then it was Williams, then it was Dillon. They all had a field day. I think just the offensive line dominating and then bringing in a fresh running back, fresh legs, and just pounding the ball really helped them. And that was my biggest takeaway, was just how easily and how dominant they were at the line of scrimmage. They just forced their will against the Rams all day. Aaron didn't play bad, but I didn't think they needed Aaron to be MVP Aaron to win that game. No. And the Rams, offensively, I thought was good. Cam Akers really looked good. He's looked great in the playoffs. I thought Goff looked, fine. I thought he made some good plays, but just defensively, I was really surprised and taken back by how just manhandled they were.
Yeah, I still stand by this. I think Goff is your average, solid starting quarterback. He was 21 of 27. It's good completion percentage.
He just needs to be a game manager. Yeah,
that's what he is. But to your point, Rodgers, he played well. He didn't play bad, but Devontae Adams he had 9 catches, which is a lot, but only 66 yards. So I feel like, Ramsey did his part. He can't be doing everything out there. I did expect the Rams secondary to play better. And like you said, no Donald, he was basically, he might as well have been inactive. The amount of
he was completely ineffective. I think he had one pressure. He missed a bunch of snaps. But really, it came down to the running backs had 191 yards for the Packers. That's never going to win a game for you. I think all of them had A.J. Dillon had the worst average at 4.5. But Aaron Jones was averaging 7 yards a clip.
4.5, as if that's bad.
Yeah, Aaron still was him, but I was really impressed by the run game. That was the most impressive part, and I thought. And the Packers, man, they looked good. They looked really good watching that game. That whole team, the defense, I thought played well. Kenny Clark had a game. I think he had 2.5 sacks, if I'm correct.
He had
a sack and a half.
Sack and a half. They had 4 total team sacks, whereas the Rams had 0. So
yeah, and you know who else had a really good? Rashawn Gary. I was impressed by him. He had a sack and a half too. They got after Goff when they needed to, and they just ran the ball and took the clock out. And it was a good game. Packers all around. They really. This was probably the best game. I haven't watched every one of their games, but this is the best game I've seen them play all year.
I remember when we had our cornerback discussion. I know who did we have on that? Was it Josh?
No, Alex.
It was Alex. Okay, yeah. So Alex, he and I both liked Jaire Alexander of the Packers cornerback, and he played really well. I think he's shown that he's a elite level cornerback this whole season. So I think that was big for Green Bay to have that kind of player. And I think the most surprising thing that I saw was the Packers play like a collective team. You see players step up when they have to. And I was blown away when I watched, Alan Lazard run a post and beat Jalen Ramsey for like a 40-yard catch. And I was like, Jalen Ramsey just got beat by Alan
Yeah.
Lazard.
There was nothing for the Rams to write home on
Yeah.
that. Plus the amount of missed tackles they had. I just saw running backs bouncing off tackles all game for the Packers.
Yeah.
And maybe that's them running off fresh legs and them just being able to keep driving their feet. But man, they've missed so many tackles. I was really disappointed with that defense. And to your point, what you were saying with the Packers defense, they're like the opposite what the Rams were, because the Rams apparently are built around Aaron Donald. And if he's not 100% superstar, then they're going to struggle. I think the Packers defense just 1 through 11, I was impressed by. They're deep. They make so many plays. You know the Smith brothers, but I think Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark impressed me the most. That young linebacker, I forget the guy's name. He got hurt for a little bit. Lamb, I think it was. He looked pretty good. Kirksey played well. The secondary is fine. Overall, top to bottom, I think the defense played really well, and that was a good thing to see, because the offense is going to roll as long as Rodgers is out there, but the defense is going to get them further along in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian Amos and Alexander is a good duo, safety corner. So yeah, I think they're prime. It'll be a good matchup against Tampa. Tampa's got the better defense, I would say, but Green Bay has the better offense, statistically. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Can we talk about the one thing I took from that game, because I heard the Eagles mentioning that they wanted to interview, I think his name's Staley, the defense coordinator for the Rams, but now he's going to be the head coach for the Chargers, I believe.
Yes.
Dude, man, that defense played a horrible game. I really didn't think he coached a real game. That Lazard player you're talking about, they were stacking the box to prevent the run. There was no one back there. I was watching the game and how poorly that defense was playing, and I was like, dude, I want nothing to do with this guy for the Eagles. And then the Chargers of all team, the team that have a franchise quarterback that you probably want to bring in an offensive mind to help this guy, and they go get a defensive guy that just gets torched in the playoffs. I don't know. I thought that was a questionable hire. There's been a couple questionable hires we can get to, but I thought that was one, especially after that game where I was hardly impressed by the defense. I know they were good all year, but you know what that made me think? I think that this defense might be more of two superstars, Donald and Ramsey, and when one of them's not there, they can't make up for it. And that doesn't look good for your defense coordinator, especially when he had nothing to do with the development of Jalen Ramsey. And I don't remember how long he's been there, but I know Donald was there with Wade Phillips beforehand. So I don't think he's done anything to develop either of those into being the superstars.
Yeah. So speaking of the Packers won, obviously. I picked them. I think you picked the Rams.
I know. I had to eat my words on that one. I was really disappointed. If Donald was 100%, maybe.
They were in it for a bit. It wasn't like a blowout.
Yeah, they kept it competitive.
But their opponent will be Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hats off to them. They are turning it up in the playoffs now. So I'll give them that much.
You knew Brady would.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny how Nick was saying, "Oh, how could you bet against Tom Brady in the playoffs?" I was like, well, I figured the Saints, they were like, hey, Drew Brees, he's going to retire. This is last season. Got to play our hearts out for him. And they went out there and Brees played horrible.
Oh, he was
You could tell. He was 19 of 34, 134 yards, 3 brutal interceptions. I think they were all in the second half, too.
And they were non-Drew Brees interceptions.
He had a 31 QBR. That's unheard of for him.
He's such a good decision maker, and he's so accurate, and he's throwing these balls dude, where are you going with this thing? And it pained me to watch, because I know how good he is and everything, but he looks like a shell of himself. And what was what really opened my eyes is how much Taysom Hill means to that team, because I don't think Drew Brees has had a lot left in him this whole year, and I think Taysom Hill gets him by, because he gives them that spark in the offense, and he makes them play honest, where you don't really know what's going to happen if you're a defense. The Buccaneers clearly made the decision, we're going to let Drew Brees beat us, and he couldn't do it. There was no deep ball. The guy, I got to see, his average he was averaging 3.9 yards per completion.
And Jameis came in, threw one ball for a 56-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
Why? If that doesn't tell you that Brees is way past his prime, he can't throw deep balls like that anymore. It's like,
the injuries were tough, because I know Murray was out, and obviously Taysom Hill didn't play, but they forced them to pass the ball, and Brees couldn't do it. He made some bad decisions, but I think the running game kind of hurt, because Kamara couldn't split those carries. He ended up with 18 carries, 85 yards, nothing really remarkable. Ty Montgomery is, he's nothing. He really did nothing in his opportunities. They really missed Murray of running the ball, especially because the Buccaneers were forcing them. But Yeah, man, Drew Brees is what really opened
I mean,
my eyes to that. That
it
was a
it,
struggle.
it also didn't help that the self-proclaimed can't guard Mike had 4 targets and 0 catches. Like, you're telling people you're the best wide receiver in the NFL, and I mean, granted, who was it? Carlton Davis he was up against. Like, he's a good corner, but like
Yeah.
you say you're the best receiver in the NFL and you can't make 1 catch. Like, in the
I
playoffs, in your quarterback's last career game, you can't do
I
anything.
I agree. Listen, I was
That
gonna
was
rip him a
embarrassing.
little.
If I was the Saints fan, I would be embarrassed by that performance by Mike Thomas.
See, I was gonna rip him hard, and then I heard the report today that he was getting ankle surgery, like multiple ankle surgeries. So I didn't want to be the monster and rip a guy that needed ankle surgery like you are. But I'm glad you brought that up. But
Didn't T.O. play on a broken ankle in the Super Bowl and have like 130 yards or something?
yeah, man,
Or
different people.
or like recently repaired ankle, whatever. But
I
or he had
mean, no,
screws in his ankle. That's what it was.
I see where you're coming from, but I think this whole season was clear. Michael Thomas never. He
He was
probably
never
should have shut
healthy.
it
I mean,
down.
if
Yeah, he
that's
probably should
true,
have down.
if he was so unhealthy he couldn't even play, then that's a different story. But I mean, if you're going to suit up and compete for 60 minutes and not have a single catch, like, you're still disappointed in that.
I think his boy Breeze beat last game, and as reports look, and man, after that game, I think it is time to hang it up for him. At
Yeah,
least I had the Saints win in the Super Bowl. That clearly didn't happen, but I did call the Breeze retirement, so I could be 1 for 2. But yeah, I mean, disappointing performance with him. He clearly had nothing left, and it showed, especially because how good Brady looked.
yeah. I was surprised. I really thought the Saints D was going to outplay the Bucks D, but I mean, that linebacker duo of Levante David and
Oh, Devin White.
Devin
Oh my,
White.
Devin White is a
White
stud.
he played a
He is
hell of a game
incredible.
all over the field.
He's an incredible linebacker.
I,
That was
I
an
was
impressive game by him.
I was watching that and I was like, God damn, if the Eagles had a playmaking linebacker like that, wouldn't that be nice?
That's what you get. That's what you get. Yeah, I mean, I was a little disappointed with the Saints defense, but when you can't do anything really on offense, it kind of hurts you, especially when you turn the ball over that much. Like, they scored off of all the turnovers that the Saints had. That's a tough spot to put your defense in.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, Brady played well. So you know what it is? That, man, there's so many weapons on that Buccaneers team, and I think it's becoming more and more obvious as we get a little deeper. Like, there's just too many people to guard. Ronald Jones is running the ball real well too. If you throw him in, and he can get some consistent carries.
And Brady, he threw two touchdowns. They ran one in. They won 30-20, and Marshawn Lattimore did his thing like I told you he was going to do. He shut down Mike Evans, 1 catch for 3 yards. But guess what? The rest of the team played well in his shutting down. So,
well, I mean, this is where their weapons come in. Look at who led the team in receiving. You have Cameron Brate and Leonard Fournette.
yeah.
That tells you everything. Go take away Mike Evans. Go take away Antonio Brown. Go take away Gronk. Go do whatever you want. There's still players on this team that can make things happen. And, the thing, and this is what comes down to what really lost in the game is, did Tom Brady really light it up? He played well. It's not the best game I've seen him, but he didn't make mistakes. He got the ball to where he needed to get. He spread the ball out and found the guy that was open. Drew Brees, on the other hand, just was forcing the ball and putting it in tough spots and making bad decisions. And that ultimately was cost him.
I mean, he's not playoff Tom of the Patriots day, but he's still a very good playoff quarterback. So
plus with the amount of weapons, they're still dangerous. They still played a good game. That defense came. They made the stops when they had to.
Yeah, I will say I was off on my. I mean, I had like a bold prediction. I said, Evans was going to get shut down, which he did, but I thought Antonio Brown would have had a big game, but he only had 1 catch for 10 yards. So,
yeah, I was a little disappointed by that. I mean,
yeah.
I kind of thought that he was starting to really put it together and would have been a big factor in this playoffs. But
yeah, that trio of, arguably the best wide receiver group, Evans, Brown, and Godwin had, 6 catches for less than 50 yards together. Like 1 touchdown, but I mean,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's my piece on that game. Do you have any final thoughts before we move to AFC?
You know what? If he hangs it up, hell of a career, and I think it is time for him to hang it up. And if the Saints, you know what? Seeing how much Taysom Hill meant to that offense when he wasn't out there, I kind of like them just rolling into next year with the Jameis Taysom Hill combo. You're in a very good situation where you have this do-it-all player / quarterback in Taysom Hill that you really don't need a Drew Brees type quarterback to be effective. If Jameis Winston cannot turn the ball over at the rate we saw in Tampa Bay, I think him and Taysom Hill could be a nice little pairing.
Yeah, I mean, time will tell. I mean, I wouldn't be overly shocked If they did draft a quarterback like second, third round.
Yeah, bring in
But
a young guy. Why not?
I mean, Taysom Hill's like 30, and I'm sure Jameis is getting close. He's been in the league for a couple years now, so. But yeah, we'll see. It's like you said, Breeze, uh, great career. I mean, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So it's a shame to see him play so poorly in his last game, but gotta hang up sometimes. So he'll be what's he got? NBC contract or something?
Yeah,
I
you know what?
think
He's gonna
so.
enjoy his life in the booth. He won't get any broken ribs, and he'll be calling games and cashing in like Tony Romo.
Yeah. Well, that covers up the NFC. So then the AFC. Unfortunately, we had both starting quarterbacks, or not both, but two starting quarterbacks had concussions, which for one team it was definitely brutal for them. So Baltimore lost Lamar Jackson, I believe it was in the fourth quarter, and they lost. I mean, they only scored 3 points. Buffalo defense played a hell of a game,
It did. I
um,
was very impressed.
and their offense was. They were like, we saw what that Baltimore D did to Derrick Henry and the Titans. So we're not even gonna. I think they ran the ball like 10 times maybe.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Josh Allen wasn't like lighting it up. He was 23 for 37, 200 yards. But I
You
mean,
know
they
what? They
played.
listened to
They
me.
they made the plays when they had to. This was a defensive battle between two good defenses, and ultimately Buffalo's defense held out longer. They gave Lamar some troubles, but I thought
Hey,
overall they played really well.
you know what? They listened to me though, and when you listen to me, good things happen. Started the game, 14 passes on their first 14 plays.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first team, according to ESPN. So secondhand siphoning stats here, but they're the first team in the last 30 seasons to have 0 rushes in the first quarter of a playoff game. You know what? I told them they can't run the ball. They stink at running, and you know what? They listened, and they just got right away from it, and it worked. I mean, they only scored 17 points. I'm not going to act like they lit up
Yeah.
the full field, but they're so ineffective in running the ball, and we'll see how that works, going forward. But Zach Moss out, and you don't want to get Allen hurt. He's
Yeah.
still your best running option, I think. Singletary hasn't really taken that next leap, but just avoid getting him hurt. And I think that's the most important thing. So keep throwing the ball. It won you the game. It worked out for you, and it could be the recipe to success. We'll see. But they got a nice passing game, and that's going to be deadly. And I'll take a shootout with the Chiefs next week. I think this is get your
Yeah.
popcorn ready kind
I
of
mean,
game.
I think Diggs has had 100 yards in both playoff games so far, so he's lighting it up. 8 catches, 106 yards, and a touchdown.
Oh yeah, his impact has been amazing all year.
It's cool to see their relationship. You could tell is pretty special. Allen and Diggs, like
Yeah,
they're like best friends now, and you know act like they've been working together for years. It's just their chemistry is crazy.
it just shows you what a number one wide receiver can do. It's more than just having a
Oh
superstar
yeah,
on the field. It's look at Cole Beasley, the season he had. Look at the jump that Gabriel Davis made. Look at the jump that Josh Allen made. The whole team is just so much better. Just having that number one superstar that can just take so much attention away.
yeah. But
But the Ravens have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. I didn't think they played bad. I thought they played really well. The
yeah,
Bills just have a lot of options. You hold the Bills to 17 points. That is something to be proud of. And 10 points on offense because they got the pick six in the end zone. So that's something to write home to. But you know what? Lamar's still got his issues. 14 to 24 on 162 passing and an interception with no touchdowns. I know he got hurt, but
yeah.
he's still got the same demons that we've been talking about for a while. Pretty much his whole entire career. So we'll see. I mean, the Ravens are still a good team. They're in a good spot. But, it's the same things with Lamar Jackson over and over again. And with that Buffalo Bills defense, they shut down the run. They were going to make them pass, and they have a good secondary, and it was a problem.
Yeah, I think what was it? It came out today or yesterday that Mark Ingram was released by the Ravens. So I think that also signals that they're going to hand it over to J.K. Dobbins as the main guy, and Gus Edwards. I don't know what his contract situation is, but he'll probably still factor in their running game.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the other thing is, listen, a running back in Lamar Jackson's offense, it can't be that hard to be that great.
yeah,
You're going to be you're the starting running back with a number two rushing option with an MVP quarterback who loves to run. That's a good system for any running back.
yeah,
Save a couple bucks.
sure.
He was. I didn't even know this, but Ingram didn't even play in the playoffs. He was a healthy scratch for both games. So
I thought he was hurt. I didn't realize he was a healthy scratch. That's definitely interesting. I mean, he's getting up there too. Running backs probably have the greatest decline once you hit 30 of any player group. So
yeah. Plus, they think they save some money, so there's really no point in spending all that money when you got two cheap rookies on the team. Yeah.
I will say I was surprised RG3 wasn't. I guess he got cut. He also got cut. It looks like. But I didn't realize he was inactive, and they had Huntley over him. That was kind of surprising to me. But
Hey, you know what? Hey, talking about the two MVP quarterbacks that got injured in the playoffs, I didn't know either of their backups going into it. I didn't know Huntley was on the Ravens, and I sure as hell didn't know Chad Henne was on the Chiefs.
well, speaking
But
of Chad Henne,
Chad Henne, man, he's money.
Mister. So Chad Henne came in, kept the Chiefs' lead alive, and Chiefs ended up holding on 22-17 over the Browns. I mean, give the crown. Browns played well. It's not like it was a bad. They
Yeah.
played poorly.
Listen,
The Chiefs' defense stepped up though. Their defense is playing really well now in the playoffs. So,
I actually think this was a huge win for the Chiefs in the fact that, for the last 2 years, I think they were an all Mahomes team. Like, Mahomes is just who the Chiefs were. This was a win that I was impressed with by the team. The defense stepped up, as you said. Hill and Kelsey made plays for Henne.
yeah.
I think the team just played really well. They showed that, Mahomes is a superstar and he's our best player, but we could still win games without him. It was very impressive. My most impressive moment, I think, was when they're in the fourth quarter, Mahomes was out, and the Browns had the ball, and it was a 3 and out, and it was a crucial series, like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter, or crucial in the game. They needed to score, and 3rd and 11, and Chris Jones went and just beat Wyatt Teller, second team All Pro, got right in Baker's face. He had to dump it off to Kareem Hunt on a running back dump off, and he went nowhere. Bobbled the ball a little bit, but in 3rd and 11, that's not the pass you want to take. And I thought that was the biggest play of the game, outside of the conversion and even that quarterback sneak. But that defense played well, and I can't say that about the Chiefs. The beginning of Mahomes' reign in Kansas City,
Yeah.
they've slowly gotten better, and at this point, I think they're even better than they were last year. I was really impressed by the defense. They shut down the Browns. I think Stefanski can learn from this game. He got away from the run, I think, a little bit too much in the first half.
Oh, for sure. I mean, Kareem Hunt wasn't even that involved. He had 6 carries, so and Chubb only had 13. Like, that's not that's not their formula.
You got to understand.
You don't want Baker throwing 37 passes.
And he tried to fix it. I think they were trying to run Chubb more in the second half. But at that point, man, you were trying to score quicker. And you should have been running the ball in the first half to establish your dominance, score some points. That's how you got here. You got to go back. And, they clearly missed Odell. This was another game where Odell was clearly missed. They had no explosion. There was no guy taping the top off the defense. They needed someone down the field, and they clearly didn't have it.
Yeah, I still don't know what their plans with him is. I could still see him getting traded again. And then they could sign a big name free agent, maybe a Galladay or Allen Robinson. Although I'm hearing Allen Robinson might go to Baltimore. I mean, we're still far away from free agency anyways, but
yeah, I don't know. I've been very critical about Odell, but I think that he's buying in now because the Browns were successful. They had a good year. I mean, losing the Chiefs, regardless of what happened in that game, this was a good year for the Browns.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Odell is going to buy in. He seems, he posted that hype video or whatever. I think it was before or after the game. I don't remember, but he's also what they need. They need an explosive take the top off the defense kind of wide receiver. They need someone to keep the safety, deep in the field so that they're not loading up the box when they try to run heavy. And I think Odell's the perfect player they need, and I think that's what they're missing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know what. Again, so there's a lot of question marks for them as far as like, is Njoku still going to be with them? But their tight ends are good. I mean, Hooper is the big guy. Njoku's got a little more speed, and then like you said, Odell is the spicy playmaker, whereas Jarvis is he's like the possession guy. Like, if you need a catch for 5 yards, you're going to throw to Jarvis. He's got some of the best hands in the game. So yeah, and then you have Chubb and Hunt. Like, they have the makings of a really strong team if they can keep it together for a couple of years. Yeah. And their defense is pretty young still. Like, they're going to get better. I mean, Myles Garrett had a hell of a year.
Oh, of course.
They have and Greedy Williams didn't even play this year. I think he's going to be a good corner. So yeah, I think they're definitely looking upwards. I know when we did our predictions, we both had them finally making playoffs back in September. But I think we both said they were going to lose in the wild card or whatever. And hey, for them to come out and win a game against the Steelers and their rivals, and then play a hell of a close game to the Chiefs. So hats off to them. I still think Stefanski deserves Coach of the Year, but no.
Hey, the Steelers win sealed the season. It was a good season after you won that. That was a get your respect kind of win. And they held in with the Chiefs. Mahomes was hurt, so we can't ignore that. But it's just the things like there was differences between the Chiefs and the Browns at the end. The Chris Jones play, like I mentioned, was huge. That got the Browns off the field starting out and killed the drive for them. Then you look at the Chiefs offensively. Henny's a veteran, but he took off. Andy Reid, he's a veteran coach. He knows what he needs to do. He's willing to take the game to go on for fourth down there. That was a big moment. What was it, 3rd and 5, I think it was. There was the running back dump off, and he got the first down. The Tyreek Hill 4th and inches, where that's just illegal. When you have the quickest guy in the whole world, and you're asking to cover him in that short distance, like there's no way. There's no way. You're gonna break an ankle trying to keep up with him, half yard slant. But it's just they made the plays that a veteran championship team does, and Reed made the calls and had the confidence in his guys, which the Browns just don't have yet. They're not used to winning. But listen, they good future to build around. I think they have all the pieces to be a deadly team going forward.
I agree. I'm happy for that fan base. I'm happy to see them thrive. And I've said I'm not the biggest Baker fan, but it's good to see them have a quarterback that's they can rely on.
And I think Baker looked okay in this game, but I think in the end of the game it was like he wasn't making the plays he had to do. He didn't look comfortable. He didn't want to push it downfield. This is a game he's going to learn from. Stefanski's going to learn from. The whole team can take this and get better from. So,
but he's
I like where they're going forward.
Kind of similar to Goff, where he needs that running game to help his passing game. He's better when he doesn't have to throw 37 times. So
it's true.
They'll get better. I think if they keep this team together, they'll continue to get better and be in playoffs for a couple more years as long as they have this group. So.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. Who are we thinking for the big game?
All right. So for that, let's see what we got here. Bucks and Packers. Trying to figure out.
Hold on 1 second. Did you have to go check to see? There's only 2 games this week in Dakota, and you're over there checking to see who's playing?
No, I was trying to delay so that I could bring up the time slots for each game.
Oh, the delay. Yes, the delay.
I think they're both on
who's
Sunday.
In the NFC again? Well, we can start with the NFC. And I want to piggyback off what I was saying with the Packers because I got to say they really impressed me in that game. And you know what, that offensive line manhandled the number 1 defense. It's going to be a tough test because the Buccaneers have been the number 1 run defense the last 2 years. I'm excited to see that matchup. But if they can get the running game going again, that's going to be a problem. Rodgers will be Rodgers. I want to see if Brady can keep up with Rodgers. I know Brady had a good game. He didn't make mistakes, but it wasn't like he was really lighting up the field or, taking the shots downfield. I still like the Packers in this game. I think the Packers defense had one hell of a game last week, and I think they're going to give Brady some issues. I know the Buccaneers have a ton of weapons, but the Packers are going to get pressure. They have the pass rushers there. You got Gary and Clark both had a sack and a half, and you're not even talking about the 2 best pass rushers they have in Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith when you're talking about this past game. You mentioned the secondary and how well they played. I think that especially with Kenny Clark, who we all know Brady doesn't like the interior pressure. He likes to, get his time, get the ball out. I think if Clark can be a difference maker in the middle and get in his face quickly, I think that'll be a problem. But I'm taking Green Bay. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the Super Bowl after one of the most questionable off seasons to date for a team. I think they're going to win the whole NFC off it.
Yeah. So obviously we had Saints and Chiefs in our Super Bowl picks, but Saints are out. I still agree with you. I think Green Bay's primed for this game. I think they're in -3 right now on the spread, but I like them. I think, like you said, I just think that in the moments that matter, and not to take anything away from Brady because he's already done this plenty of times, but I think Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I think what's unique though about this is these are 2 quarterbacks that are in the end of their careers kind of, but both are playing at high levels, and you can tell both are probably the most determined to win. Brady, we already know how competitive he is, and Rodgers, this is all about him, the whole Jordan Love drafting and
this was the revenge tour.
Yeah, the revenge tour. So he's balling out. I think it's going to be a great game, but I also believe that maybe it's going to take an Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, but who knows? I think Packers will pull it out. I think someone's going to make a mistake and it's going to cost them the game. So
I think that's players to watch. I mentioned Kenny Clark is one of my players to watch, and I am going to be fascinated by this run game versus the number one run defense.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a feeling that Aaron Jones is going to have a big game. I think they're going to rotate the three running backs again, keep it fresh, and they're just going to let that offensive line, they steamroll the Rams, see what they can do against the Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers defensive line, is better than the Rams without Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a good matchup. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, you have Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. They're playing well, but Jones has been banged up all the last like 2 games. He was hobbled. I saw him like leave the field multiple times because he couldn't stay on, and I think that'll impact their ability because they would want to keep balance. Run the ball and then stretch the field with Brady and throw deep balls to Godwin and Evans. But I just think, like you said, I think someone on Green Bay's defense is going to step up. Maybe it's one of the Smith, linebackers. Maybe it's Alexander. Maybe it's Adrian Amos, Kenny Clark, like you said. But I think the Packers defense just makes one more play than the Bucs defense, and that propels them in this game. It'll be a good one. Sunday at 3:05 on Fox.
I am excited. It's going to be a good match. I'm excited for both games because then in the AFC we got shootout coming.
So here's the thing. So I can't imagine Patrick Mahomes doesn't play in this game.
No.
But if he doesn't get cleared and Chad Henne's starting, I'm taking the Bills 100%. This is where, yes, the Chiefs have a very good team, but so do the Bills. And the Bills are going to beat them without Patrick Mahomes. So I think it all depends on that. I think if Mahomes plays, it's still a relatively close game. But it's hard to pick right now. So, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to play. So I'm going to go Chiefs. I could see like a, 26, 23 game.
I think it's going to be more than that. I think the popcorn is going to be out and the points are going to be flying.
I think it's going to be a slow first half, and then it's going to explode and it might be like 3-3 at halftime like they were with Baltimore, and then third, fourth quarter we see some explosion. But
I'm worried about the run game for the Bills is a big concern, and obviously I've talked about how they should just pass the ball because there's so much better passing after Moss got hurt, but you can't ignore the fact that they only put up 10 points against the Ravens, and the Ravens are a good defense. I'm not saying that they should have put up more, but that is worrying, and I think being so one-dimensional is gonna hurt them. I do expect Mahomes to play. I think it's a shootout. I think both teams are going to go over 30 points, but this Chiefs win from how good the whole team played without Mahomes, especially the defense, and the skilled players making plays. I was so impressed with that. I think this team is better than they were last year. I think they're a veteran team. They know how to win when they have to. It's like they're getting to that Patriots mode where they're a veteran team. They keep the same core. They know what they're doing. They know how to win. And even if their first plan doesn't work, they have a second plan and they can execute it really well. And I see them going right back to the Super Bowl, and I'll be excited for the Mahomes and Rodgers matchup. But
that'll be a hell of a game.
It will be. I think we got two very good games this week, and regardless of who wins, I think the Super Bowl is going to work out pretty well, whatever matchup it is. I am taking the Chiefs and Packers, though, as my prediction, and we'll see. Andy Reid, as the stats have been coming out about him being the only coach to lead a team to three or host three conference championships in a row.
Yeah.
He's only got one Super Bowl from that. So he kind of needs this one because otherwise that stat's going to look pretty ugly when you only got one ring to show from hosting 6 conference championships.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think he's, like what I was thinking about with Doug is, I think wherever Doug goes next to be a head coach, I don't know. I honestly think, not to get off topic, but I don't know if he's even going to have a head coaching job this year just because there's not really any openings left now.
Well, why would you? They fired him so late. Like, it's not like he started with all the other teams.
But I think wherever he goes and becomes a head coach again, he'll see better success. Just like Andy is seeing a lot of success now, and finally got his ring. And his clock management's been a lot better. He's a little more ballsy. Like that fourth down call, I almost looked away because I was like, oh, they're just gonna let the play clock run out and punt it. And then, I look up and then Chad Henne's running out, and I'm like, is he throwing it? Is that first down? Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
It It was
You know what?
ballsy, but I liked it.
It's the ring effect. When he's got the
Yeah.
ring already, everyone's off his ass. He can do whatever he wants. He can go for him fourth down. If they don't get it, who cares? I already have my ring. You know, no one's going to criticize and kill him like we
Yeah.
normally would if he didn't have it. So I think it gives him a different confidence. This team has a different confidence. They won. They know how to do it. I like him going forward. So yeah, I think we had the same Super Bowl prediction. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. You mentioned Doug, so let's get into a little bit of the head coaching news. Like you said, Doug's not gonna. I don't expect Doug to take a job at this point. It's Houston, you know, he's not coming back to the Eagles.
Doug's either going to take a coordinator job or he'll just take a year off.
I don't think I think he takes a year off. He doesn't need a coordinating job. He'll get a head coaching job wherever he wants next year. Anyone would hire him. He's a Super Bowl coach. I think he'll be fine. The big news, the Brian Dable, who I said as soon as Doug was fired was the guy I wanted the Eagles to get. I think he looked at the Houston and Philly being the only options and realizing these two are the worst franchises at the moment. I want nothing to do with this, and I don't blame him. And you know, skips out, but you know, obviously with the Eagles, which we have to talk about, I hate this Josh McDaniels nonsense. This is what I don't understand. This is what I want. I want Jeffrey Lurie or Howie to say out loud and see if this still makes sense. The Patriots had like one of the worst offenses the last 2 years. Yeah. They did nothing this year. Cam clearly had nothing left, but it's not like he resurrected Cam's career. If he did, sure, then he can get a head coaching opportunity. But even when Brady was there last year and they had no weapons around him, that offense still stunk. And he had Tom Brady with them. And Tom Brady clearly has something left in the tank, as we're seeing with Tampa Bay. Yeah. I hate it. He's not a guy that I'm interested in. He was a failure as a head coach of the Broncos. I don't know why you're interviewing him. Plus, if I'm Josh McDaniels, dude, you've been with the Patriots organization for so long. Like, is he going to want this sit back and watch Howie and Jeffrey make his decisions for him? Like, he turned down the Colts job when Frank Reich ended up taking it.
Yeah.
I guess for a different opportunity down the road. But is this the opportunity you're going to turn down the Colts job and wait an extra 2 years for? Like, you're going to go play second fiddle behind Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie? I don't see it. I don't like it. I hear the rumors about it. I can't stand it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Deuce as a head coach. I like him. I put him as a coordinator before I do coach. And then I don't like the Dennis Allen. Why? That's another guy that failed as head coach. Like these are the candidates we're talking about. I'm not excited. I'm really not excited.
So they're up to 10 confirmed coaches will have interviewed, I guess by the end of this day for the Eagles job. Dennis Allen, like I said, him and Kellen Moore just happened today.
Hate both of them.
Nick Sirianni, Todd Bowles, Josh McDaniels, Deuce Staley, Gerard Mayo, Arthur Smith, Robert Saleh, Joe Brady. I mean, it's
who are you? Wait, who out of that list would you actually want us to hire? I think Saleh is the only one I would actually consider and be happy with as a head coach.
Arthur Smith I liked, and then Joe Brady I think is still an interesting option, but
he's just so young. Exactly. I agree with you, but he's 32. He was a college passing game coordinator 2 years ago. That's a meteoric rise, and maybe a little too fast. And we saw I don't like these candidates they're bringing in.
I agree with you that I don't like the Josh McDaniels option either. I don't know. He's just not. Maybe it's just because he's not a sexy name anymore. But I don't.
But what has he done the last 2 years? The Patriots offense has been a disaster the last 2 years. Like this is usually offense coordinators are coming off a very successful offensive performance.
Well, apparently he would bring Gerard Mayo as his DC, which is like, why would they interview him for a head coaching job? And then
those names that you listed to me, besides Saleh and Smith, is 3 failed head coaches with Bowles, McDaniels, and Dennis Allen, and then 2 like former players in Deuce Staley and Gerard Mayo. Neither of those guys, I look at those guys more as former players than I do coaches. Like they haven't made the leap in my mind as separating themselves from just being, a former coach that the guys love. I'm not surprised that the team loves Deuce Staley. He knows the locker room. He knows Philadelphia. He's been there for a while. Gerard Mayo, same thing. He's a former Patriots player. I'm sure the locker room loves him. I'm sure all his players will talk him up, but these are former players. I don't really look at them as like an X and O's coach that's going to, because you got to look at the main problem is someone's going to have to save Carson Wentz or you're going to have to start the whole thing over again.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do that, then I want an experienced guy for either complete rebuild or to save your franchise quarterback. Is Gerard Mayo going to save your franchise quarterback? I don't think so. Is Deuce Staley? I don't think so.
I do. I heard They did request an interview with Bieniemy, the Chiefs offensive coordinator, but I guess with playoffs he just doesn't have time or whatever it is. But
which is fine. I mean, that's fine. But you know what? I'm fine with being, and I'm actually surprised that there isn't more of the enemy to the Eagles kind of new rumors coming out, because you know Jeffrey Lurie still respects and loves Andy. You know, he pretty much handpicked Doug for him.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Andy would give Bieniemy a glowing recommendation, and I think that would carry a little more weight than it seems like it is. For some reason, it doesn't seem like Bieniemy is going to have a head coaching job, which I find shocking.
It's a joke. He should have been a coach last year. But
Yeah.
I will say on the Dennis Allen thing, he's not the worst name I've heard, and you have to remember it wasn't the best opportunity he had when I think he was the coach of the Raiders for like a year or two.
Okay, hold on.
His
You got to
quarterback
remember
was Terrell Pryor, and he had like that guy from Penn State as his other quarterback option. Like and they were cutting people, trading people away. Like that whole team was in a rebuild. He just wasn't ready for that gig. It's been a couple years since I think that was like 8 years ago. I don't know. You know, coaches grow up, they change. So maybe he's, you know, better off now he'll get another coaching job. I mean, the Saints defense has been, I mean, they're talented. They have good players, but I mean, they've been top 5, you know, so.
Hey, we'll see. He's not a name I'm too thrilled about.
I agree with you with McDaniels, but I disagree with you with Deuce Staley. Based on what we're given as these options, I actually think if Deuce Staley comes in as the head coach, but you have like a really good offensive coordinator, I mean, I don't know who it would be, but a really good offensive coordinator and a really solid defensive coordinator, I think that would work well. I think players would rally around Deuce as the coach. He would be a good motivator. I can't say the same for Josh McDaniels. But it's so disappointing that like we're not like super excited about any of these names, you know.
Oh, I know.
You want to get excited for a new coach, but
you're right. No, that's what terrifies me, because I'm looking at these names and seeing us, you know, zone in on Josh McDaniels, and I'm thinking I'd rather have Doug. Like Doug is 10 times better than any. And you know what? I don't think Doug had any interest in staying here. You know, obviously Lurie and Howie were bossing him around and everything, and that would change.
That would definitely be a first. I can't remember a time when a coach is fired and then 2 weeks later they're like, you know what? Come on back. Let's try it again.
Going off your motivator point, and I don't know. I don't feel the same way about you. I see where you're coming from, and I know the locker room loves Deuce, and he's a fixture in Philadelphia and all that. But there's a reason there was another head coaching hire. You saw the Lions hire Dan Campbell, and it's like the same thing. They hired a guy to be a motivator, but like I don't know. I didn't like the Dan Campbell hire. He's the tight ends coach, assistant head coach for the Saints. Like this looks like a guy you're just trying to bring in, and maybe the Lions are just a different situation because they've sucked for a long time, and they need to bring better morale to the team in the city. So maybe bringing in a little motivator guy would help them out. But in the Eagles situation, I don't think a motivator guy is going to help you. I think you have enough veteran leadership here, depending on how the off season goes, because you have to cut a lot of these guys or trade them to get under the cap.
Yeah.
I don't see, if you're, bringing back Cox and Kelsey and Lane Johnson and Brandon Graham, like, do they really need to be motivated? I don't think so. Like, the Lions are a team that's going to rebuild again, like they do every year for the last 50 years. And, a motivator might go a long way if, you're trying to get young, but for the Eagles situation, I don't love it. I don't like it.
That's fine. As far as other NFL teams, just to recap the last few weeks. So Dan Quinn was hired as the Cowboys defensive coordinator. Good move for them.
It was a good move
for them.
Yeah.
Raiders and their atrocious defense should be better now that Gus Bradley will be their new defensive coordinator.
Also like that. Both Seattle DCs getting back into the game.
Seahawks have an opening for a coordinator because Brian Schottenheimer was fired. Jaguars hired Urban Meyer. That's a very 50-50. I think that'll either go really well or really bad. So
we'll see. I mean, he's going to have Trevor Lawrence and $1 bazillion in cap space. So we'll see. You know what? At the worst, he brings energy. He brings excitement. This is more excitement than the Jaguars have ever seen in their career. So he's a guy that's not from the area, but he's very popular in the area, being, from what he did in Florida. I like the move from him. I know, he's a college coach. He doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL or at all. So I understand the criticism, but for that situation, just to get, excitement going, I kind of like it.
Yep. I think everyone's favored coach that they wanted to get hired was Robert Saleh. Obviously went to the Jets. I think
Good
they're
move. I
great
like that
move for
one too.
them.
Him and Douglas.
I think he's gonna be one of those defensive coordinators that turns out really well as a head coach.
I think him and Joe Douglas are a perfect match. I think the
Yeah.
defense will give it a little couple of years, but with a smart defensive coach and a guy that loves to build the lines up, I think that defense could be. We'll see, but I think that defense could be pretty big. I think they're going to go heavy there, and we'll see what happens. But I like the combination of those two.
Yeah. And then Falcons hired Arthur Smith.
I
I was
like
kind of
that.
surprised they didn't bring who was the guy who took over as the interim? Raheem Morris. Surprised that he didn't get the offer. It seemed like that was what they were kind of leaning towards, but I still think Arthur
Sure.
Smith's a good option.
You know, I agree with what you said. I think if they brought him back, it would be fine. But between Morris and Smith, I like a lot better.
Yeah. And then, like you said earlier, Brandon Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator, just moves down the street to be the Chargers head coach. So
Not a huge fan of that. I think having Aaron Donald expose your defense that much when he's not 100% is eye opening.
I mean,
Especially,
you're not gonna. I wouldn't base it all his resume on one game. That pretty much wraps up, the coaching news, and then the only real news I wanted to touch on was your thoughts on Mr. Deshaun Watson. If you had to bet if you had to bet right now, will he be a Houston Texan to start the 2021 NFL season?
Yeah, I can't imagine Houston trades him. I know they want to. I know Deshaun wants out there. I know he's got a lot of issues with management. I know that Andre Johnson, Arian Foster are coming up and speaking about it, and he's basically ripping the ownership and the GM and everyone in the front office. But you know what? He's a young franchise quarterback. He's signed to $1 bazillion, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I don't see him getting traded. I can't see it. You don't get quarterbacks like that and trade them. It's not like Carson Wentz where you sign him to a huge extension. He looks really good. He's coming off the worst year. He was the worst quarterback in the NFL this year. Deshaun Watson was not. I'd be stunned if they trade him. I don't know how they fix this situation. I think that they might just hire Bieniemy just to calm down Deshaun Watson. Maybe they don't. They probably had no interest in him as a head coach, but realizing that they need to make Deshaun Watson happy, they might go hire him just because of that.
Yeah, and I don't know what's going on in that brass's mind. But if Bieniemy is a good candidate, he should be a head coach. And if that's what it takes to keep my quarterback in Houston, I would do it.
Oh yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Bieniemy gets hired by the Texans, and it's solely to make Deshaun Watson happy.
Just the lasting thoughts on the Eagles' vacancy of coaching. It sounds like we will have a coach by the end of the week. Although we could have one by the time this podcast goes up on Wednesday.
We'll see.
But I'm worried. I do think it is McDaniels.
I just don't see the fit. Why?
He's not like I said. I don't think he's the worst option. I've seen so many times coaches go to a team where they're the head coach for the first time, doesn't work out. They go back to being a coordinator, learn more things, and then change their ways.
What has he learned?
Bill Belichick is just such a rare breed of a coach that it's like you can learn from him, but like you can't really replicate what he does, especially the fact that he's from a defensive background. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I'm not huge. Like I've heard some things about his time in Denver where he was arguing with players and Cutler. That's right. Cutler wanted out of Denver and this and that. So maybe he's changed. Who knows? But yeah, he's not. I would rather have Deuce than him. But
so I just want to point out one thing: the New England Patriots this past season were 27th in the NFL in yards per game and points per game on offense. And this guy's now a head coaching candidate. Like, what are we doing? Why? What am I saying?
Yeah.
I don't remember what they were last year, or the last year of Tom Brady. That offense wasn't that good. The offense was so disappointing. And don't get me wrong, there weren't many players on that offense outside of Tom Brady, but Tom left for a reason. And McDaniels, and you're right, they can learn and get better. But McDaniels went right back to what he was before. The guy doesn't know anything outside of Tom Brady and the Patriots. All he knows is Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. I don't like it. I don't like it for McDaniels either, to be honest with you. When you turn down that coach job, this is not the job in mind that I thought you would take. Go to a disaster of a situation in Philly, and this is exactly what it is. To then,
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounded like he was going to just wait till Belichick retired and take over the Patriots. But...
I agree. This move doesn't make sense for the Eagles, and it doesn't make sense for McDaniels. If McDaniels won a head coaching job, he would have been better off with the Chargers or Houston. Get a young quarterback and let him be your Tom Brady. Let him develop his whole entire career with you, and you grow with him. Because I just don't see the fit for either parties. And when that happens, it's not a good look, good outlook.
No. But yeah. So just to recap real quick before we end. So I think we have the same pick. So we're both taking Green Bay over Tampa and Kansas City over Buffalo. Like I said, if Mahomes doesn't play, I think it's obvious the Bills have a much greater chance of winning.
Of course.
But yeah, I think we'll see. I mean, hell, if we get another Tom Brady Super Bowl, I wouldn't be surprised. But my favorite stat, or not stat, but favorite numbers of the week. I saw that since 1997, Tom Brady has been in one NFC Championship games, and the Dallas Cowboys have been in 0.
Love it.
And then since 1997, Tom Brady's been in the NFC for 1 year, and the Dallas Cowboys have been in the NFC for 24 years. So always got to take shots at Dallas when you have the chance.
You know what? I love it. That put a smile on my face when I saw that.
Yeah. But I think that wraps it up for this episode. Any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered everything. I'm excited for some. I think it's gonna be 2 very good games, and we'll see what the Eagles do at head coaching position. But I don't love how it looks right now.
Yeah, I think by this time next week we'll be having discussions about who's hired, what kind of staff he's gonna have, how's it gonna impact Wentz, blah blah blah. So it'll be I don't know if exciting is a word. It's gonna be stressful, that's for sure.
Yeah, it'll be something.
It will be something. All right.
Alrighty. I'll talk to you.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.